Hi and welcome. This is Rick Dearr, and as you can see from that line down below my name, or with my name rather, I'm a business consultant. So we're hopefully going to have a little fun with business here, as well as cover a lot of ground about what makes up the five business building blocks. And so let's get started with that. Um, One of the things I want to talk about a little bit is what I'm trying to do, which is to change the global economy one entrepreneur at a time. The "Are you next" is something I might tweet. Yes, you can use social media and things within your business, no matter what kind of business you have. That's not the main focus of this, but I just wanted to put that one out there just so you know one of my larger goals. Now, here's the five building blocks, and you can see the little photo down on the right-hand side, but the leadership is LD, administration is AD, finance, of course, FN, marketing MK, and customer fulfillment. Now, all of these things are used in every business. So there are things that you will do within each one of these areas, no matter what business you're in. Customer fulfillment has differences depending on what kind of business you're in. If you're a service business or hard goods or digital, if you're on the internet. But everything else is pretty much the same no matter what business you're in. And they all have a little different way of structuring. And I know you're going to say, but my business is different. There's thousands of different businesses that are the same as yours. So that's the thing to keep in mind. The folks that I've worked with here, we've had a lot of experience with different businesses over the years, and maybe that's what I should get into now. Kind of tell you a little bit about myself. A few years back, CMS Enhancements came in as it was a $30 million division of a $200 million company. So yes, I was very corporate at the time. And I took that from 30 million to 60 million in 18 months. I came back to Utah after my wife's mom got ill, so I wasn't involved with that company anymore. I actually rode the roller coaster. I think a lot of you have probably experienced a lot of ups and downs. I was one of those. 9/11 hit. I was selling the engines for video game businesses. And that was, a $250,000 sale, and those types of sales kind of dried up overnight. Came back to Utah, got involved with real estate investing. Um, I was the vice president of operations for Mike Filsame, so of course, internet marketing. I'd learned a lot about it before I went to work with him, but then of course, I also got to learn a lot while I was there. We did a couple of the, seven-figure launches there, and that was really fun. Got to work with Mark Victor Hansen and Robert G. Allen on the launch of their book Cash in a Flash. Made a little $500,000 company out of that one real quickly, and it was fun to help them and come up with new techniques for getting a book on the New York Times bestseller list, as well as we did Amazon bestseller overnight. And I can do the Amazon thing for almost anyone. So if you're an author and you want to know about that, get in touch. There's Mike Filsane and myself, and I'm going to try to keep this short. So there's the site we did for Cash in a Flash. There's Robert and Alan and I at his home in California, and that home is for sale. So if you want to live in a famous author's home, I think he's only in the $4 to $6 million range. I didn't ask him the price last time. So the place I was at when I actually came up with these five business building blocks as a platform to use in the community was in New York. I was working with a client there, and I had an apartment that overlooked the Statue of Liberty. I was a couple blocks from the ground zero, and it really, was something that I saw every day and started to think about more and more, how that really did affect my economy, my life, and I almost gave up. And I think that's one of the things I want to really instill in everyone is no matter where you are, up or down, just don't give up and keep learning and keep coming up with new ways to help people and provide more value. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this is there's value in this presentation, but beyond that, I've got some things that I think can really help down the road as well. One of the big things that I try to do is give back, and this is the organization I use. It's called kiva.org, And the reason I say global economy is this is one of the ways to reach them. You can do loans as small as $25 in Kiva, and it makes it so that these small businesses across the globe can get their small loans, they call them microloans, and they're able to invest in their local business and make it grow, and then they pay those loans back, and then you get the funds back and can reinvest them in with other groups. So this is a little search I did on Philippines. There's 198 loans that they're raising funds for, and you can see like the top loan. Well, maybe you can't see it, it's kind of small. Is $175. That's all they need total, and they've got 71% of it is already raised. So it wouldn't take much to help them get the rest of the loan. And that's the type of thing that I'm talking about when I say, you know, that you can affect the globe by investing in these other businesses too. So let's talk about the different aspects here. We've got leadership, the master plan. Most companies run without an operations manual. None of the large companies run without an operations manual. So I want you to kind of think about that a little. If you're just going to kind of dink around and use what you're doing as a hobby, you know, then don't plan on making a lot of money at it, and don't grow it, you know, because you'll need to do some things if you want to grow. Operations manual is one of those things. A lot of times when people think master plan, they think of a business plan. If you're starting a new business, a business plan is a good idea if you're going to go raise capital, that type of thing. We'll talk about that at the end. But the thing I'm talking about is an ongoing business. You're up and running already, or you're just getting started. You don't necessarily need just a business plan with all the estimations of sales and all that. What you're trying to do is do an organizational plan of how you're going to get things done and the different operations. You want a mission statement. You know, why is it you're doing this? You've seen a little bit of mine. You know, I'm trying to really help entrepreneurs. I learned a lot with Robert Allen and how I can see people that have known him for years and how they've grown from just reading one of his books to, you know, doing 7-figure businesses. And I want to affect people like that. I want to be able to help people get to where they want to go. And you'll want to create your own mission statement. And then you've got company objectives. Those objectives are more of the changes that you want to happen over time. So they're objectives that you can put maybe dollar amounts to or growth amounts to, or, you know, like you may want to have 3 people working for you in these different areas. Those are kind of company objectives. You want a company story. You know, you've heard a little bit of mine. I was going to say I'm old, but I'm trying not to say stuff like that anymore. I've been around long enough to, well, my better saying is old enough to know better, but young enough to try. So the things that you want in your company story are some of the things that, you know, are highlights. You know, I'm telling some of my highlights to you, and hopefully, you know, in your story you'll have some highlights, and I think that's something that people like to hear about other people, because then, you know, we all become more personable. It's not just this company story. It's a company story that involves the people in the company. So that's a point I wanted to make there. Now, in administration, you know, you've got your employee commitment pledge. That's something you want to do with your employees so that they know your commitment, but also that you get a commitment from them. As an example, when I was a video game producer, we had a very short timeline to get my first project done with this company, and it was a very tight budget, very tight timeline, and we had a pretty small team by comparison to some of the other teams. And I was really concerned because that's one of the things, you know, as a project manager, you're trying to be the guy that gets it all done on time. So they'd been late on all their projects. This company had been around 8 years before I got there, and every project was late. And in my case, I couldn't be late. And that's probably one of the reasons I got assigned the project, because I came from a different environment in management of getting things done. So when I sat down with each of the employees, I got their commitment of what they were willing to do and what they wanted to do to make the game what it needed to be. And by having that commitment from them, I think it really affected how they did their work. They weren't in the same old mode of just let it go till it's almost too late and then have to work 14 hours a day till it's done to hit a deadline and then still missing the deadline anyway. So with ours, we met a lot and we talked about things as we came about it, and I reminded them of their commitment whenever I thought things were kind of slacking a little. And we were able to meet our projects on time and on budget, and we didn't really have to have anybody upset with anybody about that. Part of that was meetings. You'll want to have your weekly leadership meetings. If you're diverse group in terms of across the globe or whatever, you can do those meetings with Skype or with iChat on a Mac, webcams, whatever you want. So they're still valid and they still need to be done. Monthly business development meetings, same type of thing. You're kind of growing your business here, or you're setting it up to be able to franchise it, or you want to sell it. You've got to have these systems in place that grow the business, whether you're there or not. And you want to look into time management of functions. Now, a lot of times people worry about tracking their time and stuff, but that's something that you can get more efficient at if you track it. The other thing we want to talk about in time is the time management of communications. Now, I know you've all heard it, and it's gone both ways. An instant messenger is so great because you can get a hold of somebody right away, and Skype is so great because you can. Well, part of the problem, depending on the type of business you have, is when you're working and you get interrupted, it can take 15 to 20 minutes to get back in track of what you're doing. Let's say you were the one responsible, or someone on your team was responsible for creating a sales letter, and they thought it would take about an hour, and they started working on it, and they got interrupted 3 times. And it took them 20 minutes to get back into the swing of it each time. There's an hour gone. So their 1 hour to get this thing done took them 2 hours. And if they had any kind of deadline, they just missed their deadline. And that can cause a ripple effect all across the board. So there's a lot of things that you need to look at when it comes to communication. And email is just as bad. If somebody's checking their email every 10 minutes, they're going to get distracted. So there's things we talk about here, exactly how to do that. I can lay out a program for you on how to be effective with your communication and make sure that things are still done in a timely fashion, but just not interrupting every day. And you want to get organizational strategies. Really, this is something that happens with each organization. The first thing I usually do when I do a private client is I want to know their organizational chart so I can see where everything lays out. If you've already got a company going, you kind of know your organization, but we'll get into those pieces and see where you are now and where you want to be with your organization. And some of those boxes, you may have yourself in 3 or 4 or 5 of them. And what you want to do is get yourself back to one of them. And then if you're selling your company, of course, you want to be able to have somebody else plug right into there and hand you a bunch of cash to do that. And they can just take over and it'll be up and running and everything will be organized. You want position agreements with each of your people. One of the things that people can do for themselves is to write up what they do for you each day. And that helps you create the position agreement. And then you've got to look at it and make sure they are already doing what you want them to. But we get into a system for that. We've got some forms for that. The website has all of this stuff in it. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Daily reports. That's something that every business has or needs to have. I guess that's one of the things that I want to make sure people understand, that if someone is assigned a project but never ask how that project came out, then eventually they just don't worry about getting things done. And it's very hard to remember everything you told somebody if all you're doing is verbally telling them. But if you're having a daily report come back to you, then you can keep a track on your end and see how they match up. And the daily report just gives you a really good feel for what's getting done. It's very hard for somebody to send you a blank daily report. So they better have something done. And if they're too thin, well, we'll get into that in a minute. The pieces that will really propel your business are the action plan system. Now, what you'll be doing is you'll start by creating some of these action plans yourself based on what you're working on a daily basis. But then as your team grows, or if you already have a team, you'll start assigning some of these to them. And then it becomes a routine in your business to have 3 or 4 action plans done every month. That starts to really improve your business and to grow the business to the next level. This is a system that I think you'll really enjoy using once you get used to it and start doing it. It is not time burdensome. It's something you can do. Everyone can do it. Commitment violation system. That's one where, occasionally you have someone in the organization that really should be in someone else's organization. And the commitment violation system allows you to do this in a systemized manner in terms of they know when they've done something wrong, they see it, they get it in writing, there's some follow-up, and you're working with them to either improve themselves so that they don't violate that commitment, or they realize it's time to move on and you help them find a new location. And when you're bringing in their replacement, or if you're just bringing in new people, you want to work in the recruiting process in a way that helps you rather than hinders you. A lot of people don't spend much time in recruiting, so they don't have people that they can have on tap to call on. And so they scramble to try to replace someone, or they scramble to fill a position because they're growing. And that sometimes makes it so you're hiring the wrong people. Part of that's the selection process. When you do have people, how do you select them? We go through all of that. Administration has one last piece, which is the new employee integration process. When you bring people in, you really want to make them feel at home. You want them part of the community, part of the company, to understand what's going on and who's who. You want to introduce them. One of the things that was really wild when I went to this video game company, like say they had $100 million in the bank. They were a $400 million company. I was hired to do this project. I was brought in the first day. HR took me to my desk, and there was no computer. I think there was a phone, and there was no introduction around the business. There was no contact from my immediate superior or the head of the studio for 2 days. So if I had just been in there, like sucking my thumb for 2 days, they wouldn't have known. I don't do that, so I actually ended up the first 2 days meeting people, finding out who the IT guys were, getting a computer, just getting myself set up and then ready to go. I still didn't know who was going to be on my team at that point, but at least I was ready to work when they finally got around to it. But you don't want your employees to go through that. You want your employees to be welcome and to know what they're working on and to be introduced into the company. So let's work on to finance now. Obviously, there's all the pieces. Income statements allow you to know what's going on in your business. You're going to have balance sheets, financial ratios, pricing. Pricing can be tricky sometimes because a lot of times entrepreneurs, we forget about some of the overhead and other things. You've got to really have your pricing models down so you understand the pieces and to make sure that what you're doing is profitable. And sometimes just changing the pricing up or down a little can affect your bottom line tremendously. Obviously, accounts receivable, credit policy, that type of thing's in there. If you're not good at this part of it, there are people you can hire even on a part-time basis to help out with that. And that's something to realize. Work for your strengths and hire the positions to help you with the areas that you may not be. Cash flow management, something that entrepreneurs have a tendency to do is as they see big money, they start to spend big money. And my recommendation to you is to put some aside and plan for some lean times and be able to continue to function when those come around. I was talking with a company recently that they'd been taking out 6 and 7 figures a year easily, and they were in a leaner time, and they had some projects they wanted to do, but they had no funds to do them with. And I basically said, if this had been, when we look at the books, if this had been an employee who took out this kind of money over the last 2 years, you'd be screaming embezzlement and upset with them. But because the owners took it out, you're just scrambling to figure out what to do. But none of you have that money left to put back into the company either. So it is something that you really want to be careful with and watch what you're doing there. And I'm guilty too. I'm not going to say I'm above it. When I got involved with a company where we were raising money and things, they wanted me to have a nicer car, so I went out, bought a $40,000 car when my house was only worth probably $90,000 at the time. So my car payment was higher than my house payment, but I was able to, quote, impress the investors. And I'd say in this day and age, you don't need to impress people. You need to really handle your business, and people will like you for who you are and not what you drive or where you live. And I know that's easy for me to say right now, but I want you guys to really think about that as you're growing your business. Sorry to be on the soapbox there. Marketing. Now, there's a lot of ways to market. One of the things you need to look into is market segmentation and your market pledge. What you're telling the marketplace you're going to do. Your market resolution statement. We cover all of that in detail. I'm going to try to get through this quickly so you're not bored to tears here. And your market fulfillment system, whether that's digital or... I'm going to cough now. Excuse me. All right, let's look at if you're involved with the internet. Of course, newsletters is a good way to communicate. Emails, of course. There's different ways to advertise on the internet. Some people only do emails. Some people only do SEO to get people into their sites. Some people only do banner ads. So there's lots of ways, and obviously we can cover all of those. The way you set up your websites, the funnel you have, and then don't forget offline. Right now, if you're already an offline business, then you've probably been doing the yellow page ads that aren't working anymore, and newspaper and things like that. But you want to look into the idea of doing some stuff with radio and TV. Getting some press, maybe getting interviewed by a news station, that type of thing. Magazines and newspapers still have ways to help you as well, so don't forget about those. Let's talk a little bit about customer fulfillment. It is unique to each business, but there's so many businesses that are similar that your uniqueness, is not something that can't be overcome. So we can work with you and figure out whether it's digital or physical. There's lots of different ways to deliver your value. If you're a service, you can do that locally, or you can sometimes do it globally, depending on how you have to service your clients. And then let's get back to this business plan idea. Like I mentioned before, you don't need it unless you're going to expand rapidly and do things differently without the cash flow for it. Then you may need to borrow some from a bank or an angel investor, and they're going to want to see a business plan. And of course, if you've got an ongoing business, you can create a pro forma over the next 12 months or 2 years from your financial data that you already have. And what we've done here, and this is very, very surface, but it does give you everything you need. If you wanted to research each of those areas, you could come up with your own. I've, of course, done it over the last 20 years, and I'm working with consultants also who are doing this, we've created a system that by following it step by step, you're able to create this high performance environment, and you're going to be able to rise above the daily grind, so to speak. Reaching the top of Maslow's triangle, I don't know if you're familiar with it, so I'll show that. You start at the bottom with physiological things, breathing, food, water, those kind of things. Then you get into safety, security. The yellow one is love and belonging. That one's a little hard to read probably. And then esteem, your self-esteem, your confidence grows. And then self-actualization, where you start getting more creative and problem solving and those kind of things. And that's where we want your business to take you. This is the background the business building blocks, the 5 business building blocks website. And I'm just doing a little overview here. All these different areas we just talked about have their own page with their own data, and there's accompanying PDFs and documents that you can use to create your different sections in your operations manual. So each of these has its own follow-up and its own lesson that you do week by week, and it'll only take you about an hour to read through the material, and then you can go on to learning it for yourself. Now here's the pricing that's going to be set up for 2011. And no, I'm not having you do this pricing today, so I do have a special offer, obviously. The business member, though, in 2011 is going to be at $247 a month, and that'll include a Q&A session each month, and there'll also be a webinar. And then the medium business will be $997 a month. Obviously, the same things that come with the standard business member are going to be in there, but we're also going to do a more advanced Q&A sessions. We're going to have some experts, come and talk with us. There'll be weekly Q&A sessions on that rather than just monthly, and everyone will get copies of those. And then the Master 9 business at $24.97 a month is going to be limited to just 10, and we'll be doing that as a monthly mastermind along with all the other factors of weekly meetings and things to really grow at a more advanced level. And those are going to be exclusive and very limited memberships next year. And then, of course, I'll still work with personal clients at $10,000 a week. Now, the thing that I wanted to do, and I think the next slide, I don't know why it's showing this again, but I'll just go right through that, is I wanted to remind you about Kiva. And what I want to do with Kiva is in the next, really between now and the middle of January, I'd like to donate more money to Kiva. And the way I want to do it is by creating more value in the marketplace, and then using what I raise there to also put some towards my investments with Kiva. And I don't know that you can see it, but this shows some of the ones that have been paid back. I've got, I think, 3 of them on this page that are 100% paid back, one that isn't paid back yet, one that's 46%, one that's 67%, and allows me to roll that right back in. So I want to have a bigger chunk of money in this organization doing good, and then as it comes back, I just put it right back into the next business. So I wanted to think about, what could I do? Who could I work with? Instead of just working with one major client again or 2 or 3, I wanted to affect 50 businesses if I could. Oh, this just shows, Philippines and Peru, Paraguay, a couple, countries that my donations have been spread through. And so here's what I want to do. Between now and January 16th, I'm going to commit to work with 50 new business owners and to allow enrollment in the system. And instead of those prices you just saw, I'm going to have to unplug my fax machine was still plugged in. I unplugged the phone, but the fax machine was still plugged in. So anyway, let's go back to what we're going to do for the first 10. Now, the first 10, instead of doing a monthly program, I'm going to do a one-time payment, and you're going to be with me for 12 months. So you're going to get a free upgrade to the mastermind level, which is normally $2,500 per month. And that would be, full access to the site for full 12 months, which is a $30,000 value. That's what people are going to be paying next year for it. We'll get the monthly webinar series, the quarterly mastermind sessions where we work with each other's businesses, so we get kind of a real boost by having more than just one person consulting with us. And then the weekly Q&A sessions. And I thought $997 would be a great one-time price for that. It's a 1/3 the price that it will be next year. And then, of course, you've all seen this before. It just was not right. So we burned that one up. Now, $49.97 is a price I've seen in lots of different programs, and people, for this value, that it would be huge, but that one's burning up too. So $19.97 is the price I came up with. And then I thought I wanted to work with 50 clients, and that $19.97 might be good across all 50 for everybody. But what could I do for the first 10 that really wanted to, step up and do it now and be the first ones to say they want to improve their business? So what I came up with for that was $9.99. And then I thought I could probably do even better. And I could do $3 better, so $9.97. Yeah, I didn't mean to fool you, but that really is a crazy price. I've been told that it's something I shouldn't do, but I'm only doing it for 10 people. This is very limited because I can only work that closely with 10, and I really want to make this a no-brainer for you. If you own a business, you're getting $30,000 value for $9.97, and I will work with you for the next year. You'll be able to get full access to the site, and we'll grow this thing together. So let's kind of recap what that is. It's a level 1 for the first 10. You get a free upgrade to the mastermind level. You get access to the training site for full 12 months. And each lesson will come out each week, so you won't get overwhelmed. And then the monthly webinar series, the quarterly mastermind sessions. And, we may decide to meet in person some places, but, I'll wait till the group is together before we pin those down. Otherwise, it'll be webinars. And then weekly Q&A sessions. So the other thing I wanted to point out for the first 10 is that I did mention 50, so there's 40 more to go. But after the first 10, the price is going to go up to $14.97. And if you're one of the first 10 and you have a friend or a business acquaintance or someone else that you bring in as an affiliate, then I'll pay out the $4.97 as a commission into that first 10. And when we get to that, that's I'm making this decision right now too. If you're listening to this and you just want to be an affiliate and you're not one of the first 10, we'll do some type of commission, but I'll ask what the first 10 want to do first, because they may fill up those second 20 before anyone else gets a chance, and I want those first 10 to have that first shot at it. But we'll keep in touch with you, and after that, if there's some room, then they may allow it, and it would be fun to allow some other people to make a $500 commission, bringing people into this second tier. And then the last 20, the price is going to be the $19.97, like I mentioned. So once the 50 are full, that's it. Then we're going to the 2011 pricing. But for now, the first 10 can come in at $9.97. The next group will be $14.97 with commissions if the first 10 bring them in. And then the last 20 will be the $19.97. So I think if you move quickly, you can be one of the first 10. If you're not, we'll put you on a waiting list for that second group, and we'll let you know. And if you get there and the price is already at one of these other two price points, then just know that the other levels are full. And even at $19.97, it's a great program. So I really look forward to working with each and every one of you, and I welcome you aboard. And there's the site to go to. If you happen to be audio only and you can't see that, I'm going to tell you it's http://businessbuildingblocks.com/MMT. So that is the site to go to, 5businessbuildingblocks.com/MMT. And we'll see you on the other side.